Hey, I'm here with Eliza Olsen. She joined us and she is the president of the Burns Bog Conservation Society. Eliza, earlier Emily mentioned that the bog is the lungs of the Lower Mainland. Can you elaborate on that, describe what that actually means and the importance of it?
What it means is that this ecosystem produces more oxygen than it uses. You know, mainly most forests, they use as much oxygen as they produce, but not with a bog. And that's one reason why it's called the lungs of the Lower Mainland. Another thing is David Bellamy, our honorary chair, calls it is a giant piece of computer software because it's Mother Nature's history books. It has stored things from up to 10,000 years ago when it first began. And again, whether you are a European scientist or a Canadian scientist, you'll decide either the bog started either 5,000 to 10,000 years ago. It depends on where you calculate from.
Could you tell us a little bit about the proposed South Fraser Perimeter Road and how that will impact the bog?
Well, the proposed South Fraser Perimeter Road will not only impact Burns Bog, but it'll also put farmland at risk and our ability to feed ourselves and future generations. But it's acting almost like a rubber band around the bog, and it's going to strangle it by preventing the natural flow of water between the Fraser River and the bog. And it will destroy more bog, and the more you destroy, the more carbon you put back into the atmosphere, because Burns Bog is a giant carbon sink. Globally, peatlands only cover 3% of the Earth's surface. Their destruction is responsible for 10% of the world's greenhouse gases, which is about 3 billion tons annually. That in comparison, they store twice as much carbon as all the world's forest.
Well, thanks so much for that great answer and for being with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. It's nice to get out here every so often.
It's beautiful. So I'm with Ben West now. And Ben, can you, I was on the BC government website and they claim that this 10 billion gateway project is going to reduce congestion. But it's been seen all around the world that highway expansion does not reduce congestion. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about solutions?
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess the first thing to say is, if you talk to a transportation planner, they'll tell you that in first year transportation planning you learn about what's called induced traffic. It's like a question that is asked on a midterm exam in your first year of transportation planning is explain what induced traffic is. And unfortunately, this concept doesn't seem to have permeated into the way that the provincial government's talking about why they're building these roads, because the reality is that if you build a new road, it creates new traffic. Basically, as many lanes as you create, they end up being filled with more and more cars, both because people change their transportation planning and also because you get new developments along highways when you build new roads. So, as a new highways build, you get these new homes that are being built along the region, and then you get more and more people using the roads in their cars. So, I mean, if building roads is a way to reduce congestion, then LA would be a transportation dream, right? But if you look at Los Angeles, I mean, they've got substantially more lanes and they're all filled with cars, right? And the same goes for Toronto, same goes for any jurisdiction anywhere in the world. So unfortunately, the suggestion that building these roads is going to reduce congestion is just patently false. Basically when you're looking at transportation planning options, you've got public transit or you've got highways. If you build highways, you get sort of car-dependent sprawling development that eats up farmland that has all kinds of negative consequences in terms of toxic emissions and carbon emissions from automobiles. Or if you build public transit, you get these sort of densified hubs of development around transit stops, which are more walkable, livable, and more affordable and equitable. So, really when you're looking at transportation options, that's basically the choices that we have. We can build a system that's based around public transit, or we can build a system that's based around car-dependent, sprawling development. But I think to really take a close look at what the Gateway Project is really all about, and I think the reason why they're sort of making the pitch that Gateway is about, improving your commute time, is because they want this project to be popular. But what that's kind of hiding is the reality that this is a project that's really coming at the behest of a group called the Gateway Council, which is a large industry lobby group. And the Gateway Council is made up of basically all the big business folks in British Columbia, in fact in Western Canada, ranging from tar sands oil development folks who are interested in the Gateway pipeline in the north, to folks in forestry and mining who want to export more and more of their goods to the Asia Pacific region. Basically what this is all about is tripling the amount of natural resources that is leaving British Columbia and tripling the amount of goods coming from China and elsewhere in the Asia Pacific region into Canada. So this area is going to have 3 times as many diesel trucks moving through the area, 3 times as much traffic, really, 3 times as much pollution, 3 times as much carbon emissions. And that's really what this project's all about.
So definitely not a good thing.
Well, there's a lot of reasons to be concerned, and you know, if we're interested in sort of talking about an economy that will prepare us for the future, you know, I think this is actually investing a lot of money in stuff that are sort of sunset industries. Like, if we're really serious about doing something about climate change, then these are the wrong kinds of investments to make. So not only is it not good for the environment, but I don't really think it's a good economic investment either.
So more investments in transportation.
Well, public transit's definitely the sort of local transportation solution, but in terms of the economic development stuff, the federal trade side of it, I think that, you know, we'd be a lot smarter to look at, you know, how we can do more value-added manufacturing here, how we could produce things more locally so we're not as dependent on, you know, things being shipped long distances, which also has a huge footprint. And just looking at the variety of other sort of industries that are out there in terms of, you know, renewable energy production, or you name it, that would put us ahead of the curve in terms of the economy of tomorrow, instead of sort of tying us to these more traditional carbon-based economic development models.
Cool. Thanks so much. That's great. So I've learned so much being here in the bog today with Eliza and you, Emily, Rebeka, Doug, and Ben, and it's just been incredible. But what can we take away from this experience of learning about all these different aspects of the Gateway Project? What kind of steps can we take? I mean, we know all this information now. What do we do next?
Well, there's so many different ways that people can get involved. So specifically with this Gateway campaign and learning more about the bog, a big one is just educating yourself. So going out and learning more through a variety of different websites and links, and increasing awareness that way. I mean, whether people are passionate about endangered species, or learning more about protection of our ecosystems, or community building, urban planning. I mean, it is really widespread. So there's lots of different ways for people to get involved, and one of those is letter writing campaigns as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, letter writing. Who could people direct their letters to if they have concerns about the Gateway Project? Rebeka.
Well, people can write provincially. They can write to Gordon Campbell or the Minister of Transportation, and tell them about their concerns with the freeway expansion program happening in BC. Or people can also write federally to the federal Conservatives and discuss the trade, the international trade aspect of it, and their disagreement with that. And then some specific groups locally that people could get hooked up with would be South Fraser Action Network, as well as Against Port Expansion, and there's also gatewaysucks.org has a wealth of information, but it also has direct actions that students can get involved in as well.
That's great. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Rebeka Ryvola, reporting to you on the environment from our biosphere.